Both sides of the aisle hoping they can sway public opinion with these public impeachment proceedings. But even though the hearings are happening live, there are a lot of different options for consuming them, from live streams all day long to selectively chosen snippets on Twitter, carefully curated by the people you follow. So how could the digital age impact how the public perceives the facts? NBC News senior media reporter Dylan Byers is live with me from Los Angeles to help us try to answer that question. Dylan, the media landscape looks a lot different than the last time a president was anywhere near impeachment. How does all of this digital media, all of these options, help our Democrats as they try to make their case for impeaching the president?
It's a great question, and the media landscape is very different. I think the two sort of historical touch points to go back to are, one, the Watergate hearings with Nixon, and then the impeachment hearings with former President Bill Clinton. The way the media landscape shifted over that time was significant enough. When you look at the Watergate hearings, you had a nation that was gripped by one single story, living in a media environment where you really had just a few trusted sources, and more or less, while people might have disagreed over the Watergate hearings, they didn't disagree over the facts as laid out by the big broadcast networks and the major newspapers. By the time you get to the Clinton impeachment hearings, you're already talking about a much more fractured media environment where there's a lot more aggressive spin coming from the Republican and the Democratic sides, but you're still in a media landscape where there are agreed upon sources. Fast forward to today.
Right.
And we're really talking about very, very siloed parts of this country where if you are pro-Trump, you don't really have to hear or even get to hear anything that would suggest that these hearings are damaging to the president, let alone that these hearings are legitimate. And so the sort of bifurcation and polarization of the media that's taken place, as well as the demonization of the media that has taken place largely at the hands of this president and his supporters, has created in this world where, by and large, the impeachment hearings can proceed as they do, and you may very well not know what actually happened given the filter through which you're interpreting that news.
Yeah, Dylan, it's one thing too, right? You can see a certain slant or someone's certain perspective, but then there's just misinformation entirely, right? I mean, we know this is a big issue on social media, that there are clips and things out there that are just not true. How much of a concern is that as well, now that people are getting so much of their news on social platforms?
So it's a huge concern. And by the way, for the big tech companies that I cover, they're wrestling with this misinformation issue all the time. And that's not just, slight sort of different interpretations of the facts. That is very often legitimately fake content that is being produced and sort of mass marketed at scale and going viral. I think that's a major concern for the tech companies. I also think, just going back to the sort of bifurcation of old media, television media, I mean, we're living in a world now where you see conspiracy theories on cable news. I mean, just last night on Fox Business, there was someone propagated the conspiracy theory that somehow George Soros was controlling the State Department.
Really?
So
there's one.
Yeah, no, truly. And so these conspiracy theories they've gone beyond social media and sort of come back to the media itself. And you and I have had this discussion before. Yeah. But we are living in a world where if you don't have a certain degree of media literacy, and if you're not coming from a place where you really understand who's doing the real work of journalism and who's just trying to spin you or provide you with misinformation, it can be very hard to understand what is true or what is not. And I think for a lot of Americans, you get to a point where when you don't know who to believe, you might just sort of decide to tune out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I mean, it seems like there may be less of a chance that people's opinions will be swayed because they're hearing things that feed into what they already believe. But with all of these different ways to get information, you'd think, maybe people will be more tuned in. They'll be more informed. They'll know more. Seems like it could be having the opposite effect.
That's right. The sort of promise of the rise of social media, of the internet generally, was that there was so much more access to information and that citizens could go forward and they could get news from multiple sources and then sort of find out what was true. That, by and large, while that is available to people, that has not been the effect that the internet and social media have had. Instead, the effect has been that people just go further and further into their silos. Social media, even just traditional media now, rewards the sort of sensational information that convinces people that their worldview is right. And so that's why you get these conspiracy theories, this misinformation, or even just skewed bias coverage that sort of makes you, vindicates your worldview, even if it is, there's night and day between the facts and the way that you're interpreting the news. Impeachment in the digital age. Dylan Byers, thanks so much for talking about it with us. Thank you.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.